Hi friends of Jubilee Plus, welcome to this week's Monday Mercy video. Now the idea of mercy and discipline or being disciplined may seem like a weird subject for one of our Monday Mercy videos, but I really wanted to carry on from last week's video about mercy and holiness and talk a little bit about the discipline of God and how it's a mercy to us. And that seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? I mean, my natural response to being disciplined is not to find it a mercy at all. That would totally be true. I tend to wrestle with God over his discipline, but actually lately I've been finding that his discipline is a means of mercy to me. It's actually just as merciful as when I'm kind of soaking in the glory of the love that God has for me. And so there's a particular verse that stood out to me recently in Isaiah 38 verse 17. Let me read it to you. Behold, it was for my welfare that I had great bitterness. In another translation it says anguish. So behold, it was for my welfare that I had great bitterness or anguish, but in love you've delivered my life from the pit of destruction, for you have cast all my sins behind your back. And I absolutely am finding that verse to be true in my life right now. That actually sometimes God lets us go through things for our good and we can't see it at the time. I was reading in Jonah this morning actually, and it says the Lord brought the storm. So when Jonah runs away from God, a story I'm very familiar with, I talk about all the time, but I noticed something in chapter 1 this morning, which was, it says that when Jonah was on the boat running away from God, it says the Lord brought the storm. And actually, sometimes I think that happens. Sometimes I think God brings storms into our lives, but it's for our good. And so I've been reading that Isaiah 38 passage that talks about it's for my welfare that I've experienced bitterness or anguish. And that doesn't seem to compute with us so much of the time. But then in Proverbs it says, wounds from a friend can be trusted. And in John's Gospel, Jesus says, I have called you friends. And so I've been thinking for a while about how wounds from Jesus can be trusted. And again, it's kind of a weird topic to think about, but if we trust that God is really good, if we trust that he is perfectly holy and therefore he can never do anything wrong or bad or evil or even unkind, then actually it becomes much easier, not easy, but easier to value and start to appreciate and recognise the benefit of his discipline in our lives. Last summer I went to Canterbury with some friends and we decided to go on a canal boat, and my friends have got two little kids, and one of them at the time, she must have been about 16 months old or so, and she desperately wanted to get in the water. So we're on this canal boat, there's another family on it as well, and there's the woman who's punting, whatever it's called, who is trying to tell us all about the history. And my friend's 16-month-old child is screaming, and writhing and wrestling. And all she wants is to get in the water. Now, of course, all of the adults on the boat know full well if she gets into the water, she could drown. And even if she just swallows some of the water, she's probably going to get unwell because it's not healthy water, it's not pure water. And so my friend has this iron grip on her daughter and is got both arms pinning her to herself, and the child is screaming and wrestling and kicking and punching and trying anything, and this goes on for ages. And I just felt God speak to me not long after that and say, you do that, Nat. That's exactly what you're like with me. See, sometimes God says to me, I want you to go and do this, and I say, I don't want to. Or sometimes God says, that's not for you. And I want it, God, I want it, I'm chasing after it. And it's incredible to me how often I think I know better. It's astonishing to me how often I think, oh God, I know better than you. And of course I wouldn't say that consciously, but in my actions and my behaviour, and I wrestle with God, and God's like, the reason I've got this grip on you is to keep you safe. The reason I've got this grip on you is because I know what's best for you. I know better than you. And so there's so much mercy in the discipline of God for us. So I just wanted to share that thought with you today. I hope it blesses you. Have a good week, and we'll see you next week for next week's Monday Mercy.